All right, ladies and gentlemen, so here we have multiplying and dividing rational expressions level 2. So what we're going to start looking for now is to make sure that everything is written in standard form, okay? Like for example, this one is not written in standard form. Why not? Because the leading term does not have the highest degree. So the highest degree must always go first, okay? Also, if when we're factoring, we're going to make sure that even if it's written in standard form, that we factor out the negative at the beginning if there's a negative on the first term. Okay, notice all these have positives, 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 positive, and this one's positive. Okay, but this one's not in standard form, and this one, when we factor it, we'll have to factor out a negative. Okay, so, but first let's focus on standard form. So this one's not in standard form, so I'm going to rewrite it. So it's going to be negative x to the third plus 16x. So notice the signs remain on the term. So here we have negative x to the third, and it's negative x to the third here, and this is a positive 16x. That remains that way. Okay? So now everything's written in standard form. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and flip this second fraction, or this third fraction here, because it's the one that's being divided. Okay, so I'm going to do times the reciprocal. So that means this will go on top now. Negative x to the third plus 16x. And then this one here, I'll just rewrite it at the bottom. X squared plus 2x minus 24. And then I can just rewrite everything else here. X squared minus 16. And then negative x minus 4. And then the fraction over here is going to be x plus 6. And then x minus 4. Okay? So I'm going to go across now, and I'm going to see what can be factored. Okay? So let's go ahead and factor this here. Looks like it's all simplified already. It's x plus 6, x minus 4. Nothing to factor here. Right here we have a difference of squares, so that's going to be x minus 4 times x plus 4. Okay? By now you should be familiar with difference of squares. And then here I have a leading negative here. Notice it's kind of like this one, x minus 4. But since it has a negative at the beginning, I'm going to go ahead and factor out a negative 1. Okay? And it's very simple. Think of undistributing here. So negative 1 times what is negative x? Well, negative 1 times x. Notice negative 1 times x is negative x. And now I need a negative 4. Negative 1 times, do I put negative 4 here? No, because a negative 1 times a negative would be a positive 4. So I'm going to make this a positive 4. That way when I multiply negative 1 times positive 4, I get negative 4. See that? So basically when you have a negative leading term here, you want to factor out a negative 1, and then all you really need to do is change the signs. So positive x, positive 4. Okay, so that when you distribute, you get that. Okay, and now look at this one here. So here we have x in common, but again, it's leading with a negative, so we need to factor out a negative x. Okay, and then when I factor out a negative x, I'm going to end up with x squared. Notice negative x times x squared is going to be negative x cubed. Plus, wait a second, I need a negative, I need a positive 16. So I need to make sure that this is a negative. Right here, a negative x times a negative 16 will give me the positive 16x. Okay? Now, this negative x here is what I have in common between both of these. Notice they both have an x, right? So I took out an x from each one. So when I took out an x from the 16, I'm left with no x's anymore. And right here, I'm left with 2 of them. But notice here I have a difference of squares. X squared minus 16 is just like this one here. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and factor this further. This is going to be x minus 4 times x plus 4. Just like this one right here. Okay? So this is no longer needed there. And neither is this one, because that's what I have here next. So let's factor this trinomial here. So x squared is going to be x times x, and then negative 24. Let me put it over here off to the side. I need a 2, so that's going to be 6 times 4, right? But I need a positive 2, so I'll make the 4 negative. 6 times negative 4 is negative 24, and then 6 minus 4 is 2. So I'll put plus 6, and then minus 4. So everything's factored out. Okay, so now all I have to do is cross things out or cancel them out. Let me just draw a big line right here to separate the top from the work below it. Okay, so let's see here. I have an x plus 6 right there and x plus 6 right here. I have an x minus 4 here, and an x minus 4 there. I have an x plus 4 up here, and an x plus 4 down here. And then I have an x minus 4 there, and an x minus 4 there. And notice it's kind of hard to see here, but I'm left on top with an x plus 4 and a negative x, and on the bottom just a negative 1. Now notice here we have a negative x and a negative 1. Well, the negative x really has a negative 1 in front of it, so I could cancel out those negative 1s also. Okay, so in reality I'm just left with the x on top and nothing else below. So this is my answer here, x. Okay. All right, example number 2. All right, so first thing you want to look for is make sure everything is written in standard form. Okay, notice this one is not. So whenever the exponent is not in descending order, in other words from highest to lowest, then that's not written in standard form. Okay, so here we have 3x minus x squared. Let's rewrite this as negative x squared plus 3x. Okay, so you maintain the sign. So the x squared is negative and the 3x is positive. So no longer need that. Let's check this one, this one, this one. All the rest are good. Okay. Next step is to go ahead and just flip these over. Okay, so this will be times. Here, let me do this instead. Here, let me drop it a little bit lower. Times, and I'll put the 4x cubed on top. 4x cubed minus 64x over x minus 10. And then I'm going to bring everything else down as is. So this will be x plus 4, and then x squared plus x minus 12. And then we have this here, negative x squared plus 3x. Then we have x squared minus 16. Okay? And I brought it a little lower so I could have space to write my factors. So let's start over here. Whenever we have a leading negative here, we want to go ahead and factor out a negative 1. Okay, so for sure negative 1 will be factored out here. And then notice they all have an x in common, so it'll be negative 1x that I factor out. And I'll be left with x minus 3. Okay, notice if I distribute negative 1x times x is negative x squared, and negative x times negative 3 is going to be positive 3x. So I just checked my work, and so I can cross that one out. Here we have another difference of squares. We have the same one on top, so this will be x minus 4 times x plus 4. So no longer needed there. Over here, trinomial. So it'll be x times x for x squared, and then for 12, right? I'm gonna need. Let me do it over here. 12. I need a negative 12, and then I need a 1. So that's going to be 4 times 3, and then I'll make the 3 negative because I need a positive 1 in the middle. So positive 4, negative 3. No longer need that. X plus 4 is already simplified as far as it could. Same thing with x minus 10. What about here? Well, I know 4 goes into 64. Okay, so I can factor out a 4x. Okay, and then if you're not sure what to do here, so here we have 4x cubed. We have a 4x, so we need a x squared minus, right? Because we need a positive times a negative to give me a negative. And just do 64 divided by 4. Do that. 64 divided by 4. Use a calculator, no problem. It's 16 here, so we have 16 right there. Okay? And so look at that. We have a difference of squares here, so I can factor this into x minus 4 times x plus 4. Okay? And looks like that's it. So let's just start canceling stuff out. So are there any x minus 10s? I don't see any other x minus 10, so that one's going to stay there. Oh, there's an x minus 3 here and there. I have an x plus 4 here and an x plus 4 there. X minus 4 and x plus 4, x minus 4 and x plus 4. So those two cancel out with these two. Oh, yes. Actually, no. Here we have, let's see, I cancel everything else on the bottom except for the x minus 10. You remember, this is a like term with this one. So this x minus 10 is a like term. It's not a factor by itself. X minus 10 is a factor, but not x by itself. So we can't cancel it out with that one. So it looks like this is it, guys. And so what I'm left with is negative 1x times 4x. That's going to be negative 4x over x minus 10. Okay, let me make sure I didn't forget one up here. It looks like everything all canceled out except for the 4x and the negative 1x. So I multiply those two together, I got negative 4x. Oh, actually, it's negative 4x squared because 4x times x there is going to be 4x squared. Okay, and then a negative 1, right? All right, so yes, I'm glad I double checked my work. Okay, so make sure you guys do that too. So you guys see, getting the hang of it now? Okay, so first you want to do is write everything in standard form. Notice this one is not written in standard form, so I'm going to put negative x plus 9. This one's not written in standard form either, so it's going to be negative x squared plus 25. Okay, so what else? Looks like everything else is written in standard form. So let's just go ahead and rewrite everything. 4x squared minus 324, that's a big number there. And then we have x squared plus 4x minus 45 times 4 over negative x squared minus 5x. That one starts with a negative. We'll have to factor out the negative 1 there. And here, negative x plus 9, again, starts with a negative, and this one also starts with negative x squared plus 25. Okay, so let's factor all the ones that start with negative. So this is going to factor out a negative 1, right? And then an x, because they have an x in common. So this will be x plus 5. Notice, you could forget about the negative 1 there if you want. Okay, watch, let me do this here. Right? If I just do negative x like that, that works also. Okay, so negative x times x is negative x squared, and negative x times positive 5 is going to be negative 5x. So that is right. What about here? Negative 1, right? They don't have an x in common, so it's just going to be a negative 1 there. So this will be x minus 9. Notice negative 1 times negative 9 is positive 9. Right, so that factors out like that. And then here, same thing. I'm going to have a negative 1 there. But this time I'm going to have x squared minus 25. Notice if you distribute, negative 1 times x squared is negative x squared, and negative 1 times negative 25 is positive 25. So that's done there. And then, look, while I'm here, that's a difference of squares, right? And so, what did I forget to do here, guys? I forgot to flip this over. Okay? Remember the negative x plus 9 was on top, and then over here was on the bottom? No problem. I could do it right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip it over so it could be correct, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and put, well, the negative ones is still going to be the same, right? So I'll just put negative x squared minus 25 on top, and then x minus 9 on the bottom, okay? Because I forgot to do the reciprocal here, okay? So remember at the beginning of the problem, it was the negative x plus 9 on top and the negative x squared plus 25 on the bottom. I never flipped them over. So I flipped them over now. No big deal, okay? So now this is a difference of squares here. So this will be x minus 5 times x plus 5, okay? And then let's factor over here. So this will be trinomial. This will be x times x. And then for 45, right? I'm looking for a negative 45 and then a 4. So let's see. Let's try that 9 times 5, right? 9 minus 5. Isn't that 4? Yes. So let's make the 5 negative. So this will be x plus 9 and x minus 5. And then here we have a big number here. So let's see here. Let's factor out a 4. I imagine 4 goes into 324. It does. Let's double check here. 324 divided by 4 is 81. Now check this out. How many times is 4 going to 32? 8 times. How many times is 4 going to 4? 1. So 81. So here we have here x squared minus 81. Well, another difference of squares. See that? So x squared minus 81 is going to be x minus 9 times x plus 9. Okay? And now we can start canceling stuff out. So, let's see here. Okay, remember there's an invisible negative 1 there. Let me go ahead and write that right here. See that negative 1 right there? I could cancel those out right there. Okay. I still have a negative 1 there, but I can't cancel it out anymore because I already used this one here. Let's do x minus 5 there, x minus 5, x plus 5, x plus 5. We have an x plus 9 here and an x plus 9. We also have x minus 9 over here and an x minus 9 right there. Wow, it looks like I cancel everything out here. I didn't cancel out the 4 there. There's another 4 on top. I cannot cancel those out because they're on the same side. They're both on top, so I'll be multiplying those two together. But look down here, all I have is a negative 1. Let's see. Oh, there's an x right here. Don't forget about that x there. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to have an x times a negative 1 on the bottom. So this will be like this, watch. Negative 1 times x is negative x. And on top I'll have 4 times 4, which is 16. Okay, now I'm just double checking everything because there's a lot going on here. So I need to just kind of look through everything here. So there's a 4, another 4, and then everything got canceled out here. So then, yeah, 16. And down here, I'm left with that x and the negative 1. Okay, and so it's just going to be 16 over negative x. That's it. Another way to write this is just since it's a negative on the bottom, I could just write it like this. It makes the whole thing negative 16 over x, like that. Negative 16 over x. Okay. All right. Last one, guys. So again, rewrite everything in standard form. So this will be negative x plus 6. Okay. Everything else seems to be in standard form. Let's flip this one over. So this will be x plus 5 over x plus 10. And bring everything else down. So negative x plus 6. And then we have x squared minus x minus 30. And here we have x squared minus 100. And then here we have 2x squared minus 200. Okay? So let's factor things out. Remember, if it starts with a negative, factor out a negative 1. So this will be x minus 6. Okay? Over here, we have trinomial, so it'll be x times x. And then for 30, right, it's a negative 30. So it's going to be negative 6 times 5. That'll give me the negative 1 I need. So negative 6 and then plus 5. Remember, once you factor out and you verify that it's correct, you cancel out the polynomial. Here we have a difference of squares. This would be x minus 10, x plus 10, right? Negative 10 times 10 is 100. Here I can factor out a 2. This becomes x squared minus, and what's 200 divided by 2? That's 100. Okay, well, look at that. X squared minus 100 is the same thing here. So it's going to be 2 times x minus 10 times x plus 10. Right? I just bring everything else down. And then nothing here. Okay, those are simplified already. So just remember, make sure I flipped it over. I did. X plus 10 is now on the bottom. X plus 5 is now on top. Okay? Let me cancel this one out there too because I factored it. Okay, so let's see. X minus 6, x minus 6. X plus 5, x plus 5. X plus 10, x plus 10. X minus 10, x minus 10. And looks like that's it. Everything got canceled out here. Everything except for the 2 and the x minus 10 got, x plus 10 got canceled out. So on top I have a negative 1. Just look through it carefully. And then down here I just have 2 times x minus 10. Sorry, x plus 10. Okay, and again, if one of these has a negative, right, on top or on bottom, you can just put the negative off to the side. So it'll be 1 over 2 times x plus 10. And if you wanted to distribute this, you could, but you don't have to. Okay, that's it.